Hey guys, another vlog. I'm going to answer email. Oh, before I get into the email, let me just point out, somebody asked me, said, your autofocus is really good, Stef. Hey guys, another email to answer. Somebody said to me, Stef, your autofocus is really amazing. Because they were impressed that my camera could do this. Yeah, I'm using, and they asked what camera I'm using. I'm using the Canon 80D, and I'm using the lens is a 24 millimeter 2.8 IS USM lens. The Canons they have this dual pixel autofocus, which is the bomb. It's the killer autofocus in the industry. Nobody is as good except for Sony. Sony is close, but in terms of autofocus, Canon is king. They're king with autofocus, Canon is, and they're king with color. In terms of how they render color, they call it color science. And yeah, so Canon is king there. The only problem with Canon is that they won't do 4K video with their mid-range cameras. This is like the Canon 80D. You can get it now without lens. It's like, I think it's like $1,200 or $1,500 US, 2,000 Canadian. So it isn't cheap, but the quality of the video and the quality of the camera with this dual pixel autofocus, which rocks, is key. So that's why I use it. Anyway, people ask that, I'm answering. So I have another question here. Practicing code and portfolio advice. Again, I'll keep the questioner's name anonymous. So he writes to me, I'm just going to cut to the chase. There's a lot of coding projects available over the internet, complete with source codes. Is it okay to copy and tweak them to include in a portfolio? Where is the line drawn between copying someone's code for a project and actually writing the project code from scratch? The line is just blatantly copying it and not making any significant changes, just tweaking a few things. But here's the reality about coding. As I have been teaching for many years now, coding, the top 3 rules in coding is reuse, 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 just like the top 3 rules in real estate are location, location, location. So if you're writing code, the smart programmer, first thing that they do is look to see if somebody else has already done it. Writing from scratch is the last thing you want to do. Typically, you want to use frameworks, you want to use templates, you want to use what's already out there. Why? Because the freely available or paid stuff that you can utilize for your app development, for your projects, are usually far more refined than anything you're going to put out, because many people have contributed to it. I'm thinking about open source projects. So I'm a big believer in that. In terms of portfolio, take an app that use, code base, would say you get my shopping cart, PHP shopping cart tutorial that we put out. Learn it, learn from it, and then create your own variation of it. Add some new functionality, maybe improve things where you see where there could be some improvement, and then you can do that. And that's perfectly legitimate. Just don't purchase a course and then put it out there. Personally, I wouldn't care. But there's an integrity issue. You shouldn't do that. When it comes to code and functionality, it's going to be next to impossible for people to identify that you copied somebody else's code base. So they have to be some fluky situation for them to see that. But in the end, you kind of be robbing yourself if you just did that. But again, let me emphasize, writing from scratch is something you should only do when absolutely necessary. Don't worry, there are plenty of opportunities for you to learn how to build apps from scratch, so you don't have to go looking for them. That's the thing that comes up, and it came up with me. I remember back in the day, or like, well, shouldn't I do this from scratch? And even though back in the 90s, when I was cutting my teeth in development, there was much less to leverage in terms of frameworks and APIs and so forth. So you had to write from scratch much more often than you do today. We still weren't writing from scratch because we weren't writing our own database apps from scratch. We were using MySQL or Postgre or whatever database we want to use at the time. We're using somebody else's web server, Apache or Microsoft IIS, etc., etc. So don't fool yourself. When you are a developer, you're using other people's work. Just make sure that you don't blatantly steal it. A lot of times, a lot of open source projects, you're perfectly fine to use it. It's, they put it out there. It's under a GNU license, meaning you can use it how you like. Just look at the licensing. So again, as I said, if with one of my course projects, I don't mind you use it to put up your portfolio, but make some changes that are reasonably significant so that somebody doesn't catch you. It's not a good thing. Hey, isn't that just exactly what happened, what Stef did on his Killer Sites course? You don't want that to happen, right? It kind of takes away from your credibility. But at the end of the day, the big part of what a good developer does is that they utilize all the resources that are out there, meaning code bases, templates, etc. And you put these all together and to create a nice coherent app, nice coherent presentation. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. How can I use, I'm reading his email, how can I use coding projects from your course in a portfolio? I think I just mentioned that. Would I be able to customize them or just send the finished product as part of portfolio? Well, the portfolio should probably, well, not probably, will be mounted on your site. So let's say you're going to demonstrate you're doing a shopping cart. You say, check out my little shopping cart app, which I put together. You don't have to mention you based it on what my course is. Just show what it does, and show that you can work it, makes a little bit of changes so you're comfortable. Because remember, when you're dealing with clients, you're going to have to make changes according to the client's needs. So you should be comfortable at least doing that. But again, you don't have to worry about every single potential thing that can happen. One rule about being a developer is you're always going to be running into things you never thought of. So that's why I keep stressing in all my basic courses. All my courses, I stress the fundamentals more than anything else because my 2 decades plus as a developer and entrepreneur has taught me that you're never going to know everything needed for a particular project. But if you know your foundation concepts and techniques well, you'll just learn it as you go, as you need. It's not a big deal. So so what's next? Maybe going to how to put a portfolio together, the ethics of it, the process, what's okay, might be a good YouTube video. Yeah, that might be a good YouTube video. I might do that. But I think I just answered it right here. All right, ciao.